This is Panzer J. Patton. I'm coming to you from the Forest City Bunker in Loves Park, Illinois. I'm starting this channel to talk about my Axis and Allies journey. This channel is going to be a little different than I think most channels because I am basically starting from ground zero. I'm going to catch you up to date, what's happened in my Axis and Allies journey, and then specifically what's happened this year in 2019. So my journey starts back in 1987, the fall of '87. I had graduated high school in June of that year, and but my father had lost his job in Indiana, so our family moved to Nashville, Tennessee. And so I was in a new place, making new friends, and things were going okay. But I was working at a mall at an eyeglass place, and that on my breaks, I would go, and there was a couple stores down there was a toy and hobby store. And so I'd go in there and browse around different stores, and the shoe stores in the mall, but in that store specifically, I saw Axis and Allies, and I picked up the box, and I was really intrigued by it. They also had Fortress America, and so I decided that I was going to purchase Axis and Allies, and so when I got paid, I cashed my check and went down and bought it. I took it home that night and broke all the pieces off that grid they came on back then, and set it up. Punched everything out, broke the setup charts apart, and I set it up. I just put all the pieces out on the board, and I just kind of sat there. Of course, I hadn't read the rules, so I didn't know about movements or anything like that. But I just remember sitting there looking at it thinking, this is the coolest thing I have ever done in my life. It was just so awesome. So over the next few weeks, obviously late at night, I still lived at home. I was with my parents, and so late at night, after everybody else went to bed, I would set this up, and as I read the rules and figured out how to play, I was playing a little bit against myself. But the problem was that it was a new game, and there wasn't a whole lot of interest, and there wasn't a whole lot of people that I could find to play with. Matter of fact, I didn't find anybody in Nashville. And so the next part of my journey starts when I ended up moving to Texas to chase a girl, and who eventually became my wife of 29 years now. It'll be 29 years September 1st. So my Axis and Allies journey kind of took off there. We lived in Texas, and in an apartment, and we shared that apartment with her brother. And her brother, when I was moving in, he said, "What's this?" And he was holding my game, and I said, "It's an Axis and Allies. It's a game." He said, "Really?" He said, and he opened it up and got the rules out, and he said, "Do you play?" And I said, "Well, yeah." I said, "Yeah, I do, but only by myself because I can't find anybody to play." And he says, "I think I'll be interested." So he took the rule book on day one that I moved in, and he got it read, and then we kind of discussed the rules, and we started playing, and we played a bunch. We played a bunch of times. We played that, Monopoly. So we played a bunch of different games. We did some small variations on it, but I was playing Axis and Allies, and that was the first time. Then I went and I told my wife that it was too hot in Texas, and the work there was pretty sparse at the time. Excuse me. And we went to. I told her, I said I want to move back to Nashville, where I'd moved from, and of course she said, "Well, I'm going with you." And so we moved to Nashville, and we got our apartment kind of set up, and then she went back home where our wedding was going to be, and she started getting things ready for the wedding. So we were really separated for about the first 3 or 4 months. We were after I'd asked her to marry me and whatnot. We were together in Dallas, but we knew that at some point, excuse me, we were going to go back to. She was going to go back to her hometown to kind of get things ready, work for her dad, and get things ready for the wedding. So when we moved to Nashville, it just seemed like it made sense that if we were going to move and get things set up, that she would go on and go on to her parents and get everything ready for the wedding. And I continued to work in Nashville. I got my old job back, and things were going pretty good. Well, 6 weeks after our ceremony in September of 91, September of 90, my wife came to me and said that she was pregnant. And I was like, wow. So our plans changed. At that time, she was going to work. I was going to work part-time and go to school. And that just all changed. So the following summer, July of 91, my first child was born, and we took. I had some paternity leave, and then after that, I had some vacation built up. So I took 2 weeks off, and we went north to where her parents were, and I got offered a job, and so we moved again. And we moved up north to be close to her family, and so anyway, that was the main motivation for moving. Well, also my brother-in-law, who I lived with in Texas, he had moved back to that town, and so we started talking about Axis and Allies, and it just seemed like we could never get together to play. He was newly married, I was newly married, and it just never seemed to be, times when we could play. Obviously, I was a new father, had a newborn, and so it just didn't work. I worked shift work, and he worked some long hours, a lot of overtime with his job. So then the computer game came out, and so we started playing on the computer, and that game was a little janky. It didn't always seem to be like things would work, and so anyway, we played a little bit that way, and then but we never really played on the board game again, and then he got a Philips CDI. It was going to be a great thing, and he bought it. I remember I was there when he bought it, and I thought it was going to be cool. They were really there was a Philips representative at this electronics store, and they were really touting it, saying, "Hey, this is the next big thing." And it was kind of like a CD-ROM DVD kind of thing, but that format never took off. And but on that format, there you could buy Axis and Allies, and so he told me about that. He ordered it, he got it, and he was playing. He said, "It's really cool. You got to come over." And so I went over, and I actually the first time just kind of watched him play, and so we eventually started playing. So we played several times on that format. Well, then that format kind of faded away. Operating systems advanced, and the old computer game wouldn't work anymore. And so I quit playing. I think he had kind of lost interest, and I didn't play. So that takes you up to about the first 10 to 15 years of my Axis and Allies experience. In the next 10 to 15, I didn't play. I just did not have opportunities. I played a little bit, just setting up stuff. Every now and then I'd set it up and just kind of mess around with it, but I never really played a game again for about 15 years. And then the box went in storage, and for about 10 years, I never touched it. We moved a few times here in town, and it just always ended up in storage. Well, about 3 years ago, I was diagnosed with kidney disease, and so right now I'm late stage 4, early stage 5 kidney failure, and so I've got a lot of time on my hands, and so for the first year and a half or 2 years, I watched a lot of TV, a lot of documentaries, and I do enjoy that. But I just felt like I needed to have some kind of hobby, something to put my time in, and I went Axis and Allies. So I got my Axis and Allies game out, and of course it had been tumbled over and this and that. The pieces were a mess. So I got all the pieces sorted and separated, and I bought some plastic containers to put them in so they wouldn't get mixed up like that again. And so that was last fall of 18. And then January of 18, my mother asked me, what did I want for my birthday? Well, I'd kind of fiddled a few times with Axis and Allies, so I told her, I said I wanted to get this. I had seen the global game on Amazon, and I read about it on the internet, and I told her, I said, hey, I think I want this Axis and Allies global game. And she, I told her, I said, if you buy the Europe, I'll buy the Pacific for my birthday money, with my birthday money, and then I'll have global. So I did that. We did that, and I got global. Well, then I didn't know how to play it. And I thought, like everything else, I'm going to go to YouTube. Surely on YouTube I can figure out how to play global. And holy cow, was there a lot of videos. So the first Axis and Allies search that I did, I came up with some different sites that went over the rules. There were 2 or 3 sites that did reviews of the game. And then I came across Young Grasshopper's site, and his channel, I should say, and I went to his channel and I saw all of the basic training videos. So I started watching basic training on Young Grasshopper's site, and then I did the G40 training. Well, in the meantime, I had purchased some games, different types of games, Guadalcanal, D-Day, the latest 1942 version of the game. So I had purchased those games, and then while viewing the things on Grasshopper's site, he did some of the engineering training, and he talked about HBG and historical board gaming. And I went to that site and I was blown away, just totally blown away. The customizations and everything that goes on or that's available on that site, I was totally flabbergasted. Of course, I would see something and I just started making a wish list. And I had like probably 30 things on my wish list. I was just like, okay. Well, then I saw Sired Blood's channel, and I watched a few of his videos, but I saw the table building videos. And I said, okay, I started making a list. Okay, I gotta have a table, and I gotta get some of this stuff on HPG. I gotta get my global game set up, and then I saw on Young Grasshoppers the video about printing maps. I was like, okay, all right, I gotta build my table. I gotta print my map. And I was just going crazy with it. Well, I also at that time, I saw that there was the World War One game, and I have a real deep interest in World War One because it was started so ridiculously. If you know that history, you know how ridiculous it was that war started, and how it was such a war of attrition. And I had actually visited a lady from our church in a nursing home, and she talked to me about remembering when she was a little girl, her uncle going off to World War One and not coming back. And so she talked to me about that, about they were saving things, metal and things like that for the war effort. So I had a little bit of a personal connection. So I wanted that game. So my daughters asked me what I wanted for Father's Day, and I said I wanted that game, and they got it for me, and it was great. And I was really touched by it because I know it was more than they probably planned on spending for Father's Day. They usually do really well. They got me Band of Brothers one year on DVD, and then a few years later I had mentioned that I wanted it on Blu-ray, and they got it for me on Blu-ray. So the Band of Brothers thing, and then they got me this game. Now I haven't touched that game yet. I haven't really even looked at it. I know a little bit about it because I also went on another YouTube video, and it's a couple of guys that do a video. Matter of fact, Young Grasshopper put a link on his channel to these guys. They did a buyer's guide, and in that buyer's guide, he talks about this game and how much he loves it. So I know a little bit about the game, but not a lot. So my focus right now has been finding someone to play with. Well, there's a guy that I knew from way back in my high school years. He's a little bit older than me. And so when I was in high school, I knew who he was, but we never were like pals or anything. We just, I just knew of him. He's about 15 years older than me. So we went to, so my wife went to the bank one day, and she ran into this guy and his wife. And I go to church with his wife. He doesn't go to my church. He goes somewhere else. And my wife said, yeah, Jason's really into Axis and Allies. And he was like, Axis and Allies? I love Axis and Allies. He goes, I got to get his number. I got to call him. We got to get together. We got to play. So my wife told me about that experience, and so he started playing. So he called me, and we started playing. So we played 3 times now, classic only, because that's what he and I are both familiar with. And unfortunately, I have to say, I have not beat him yet. I've lost 3 times. He's beat me, I guess he's beat me twice with the Axis and once with the Allies. And so anyway, but things are progressing. So I told him, I said, I'm interested in playing G40 and or Anniversary. And he was really apprehensive, and I was a little curious as to why. And so as we kept talking about it over those 3 games, what I figured out is he thought I had been playing those games and I knew how to play. And I told him, I said, no, I've never played. So once he knew that, he was more open to doing it. Well, then I thought I really need to get him more interested. So I came up with a little bit of a plan, and I haven't told him this. But what I did was I set up Anniversary, and it had it all set up, all the pieces on the board, and I set up global, had all the pieces on the board, and I took pictures of both, and I sent them to him, and I said, hey, this is global on the table where we play classic. And I was texting him that, and I sent him that picture, and he was like, wow, we've got to start playing one of those versions. So I think we're going to start with Anniversary and kind of get our feet wet with that, but eventually we want to play global. Well, the next thing that happened was I told him, I said, yeah, I want to build a table, and I said, I'm not very handy, and I told him that I was going to reach out to Sired Blood and see if I can't get a little more information. I had watched G.I. Joe's table building video, and I thought, I think this is something that I can do with some help. And so he's like, I'm in. He said, let's do this. I'll pay for half of whatever we do. And of course, that's a huge help to me because right now I'm not working because of the kidney failure, and so I have very little disposable income, and I'm right at the point of my oldest daughter graduated 5 years ago from college, and my youngest daughter just graduated in May. So they're coming off of my what I would say monthly commitments. Matter of fact, my oldest daughter just got married, so I'm like, hey, she's yours, buddy. So, and he's a great guy. I really, my son-in-law is a good man, and I'm really proud of her choice. And matter of fact, he's interested in Axis and Allies. I gave him my 1941 copy to take down and play with his brother-in-law in Arkansas, where they live. And he said, we've been looking for a game, and he and I kind of played classic a little bit, and so he was interested, so I gave him that copy. And so hopefully he'll be interested, and when we're together or around, we can play. So, but anyway, my daughter's got me that version, and that was great, and I was happy about that. And then the table building, and my buddy was all in, and so that kind of brings me up to where I'm at. So I started this channel because I wanted to kind of document my Axis and Allies experience. Now, a bunch of things have happened since January. So this last 8 months, a bunch of things have happened. The HBG, and I bought some things off of HBG already. I bought the fuel markers. I bought a full set of coasters, and of course, a lot of times when you order stuff, you get he'll send a coaster or two with it. So I've got some Canadian coasters, So anyway, I got interested in the coasters, and then I was like, okay, I got to have those. And so I bought a full set of those. Trying to think, what else have I bought? I did save up for a couple of months, and I ended up buying a G40 set of the I Will Never Grow Up poker chips, the IPCs, and I gotta tell you, I love them. They're great. Matter of fact, when we played the last classic game, I had them, and my buddy was like, "Dude, we've got to. These are awesome. These are great." I also bought way back in February. I bought Young Grasshoppers Battle Dice. I bought 2 sets of them, and that's what on Sired Blood's channel, he recommended that as he was building this table, so that each side has their own set of dice. And so I have 2 sets of Grasshoppers Battle Dice. I have the I Will Never Grow Up poker chips, and a few other small things. I bought some chips just to give me more chips Never can have enough chips, right? So I've done some things like that. So starting this channel to document my experience from this point on. And so obviously this video has been about my experience up to this point, and then the videos from this point on will be about documenting my experience. So to catch you up on within the last couple of weeks, I have been talking to some different people about building my table, and I'm pretty sure I can get this done, especially with my buddy's help. And I thought, well, if I'm going to have that table, I'm going to want to put a map on it pretty quick. So I started talking to a couple of different printers about getting my map printed. Now I just have to choose which map, and I'm certain I'm going to consult with Young Grasshopper about that. Also, a month or so ago, or maybe 6 weeks ago, I reached out to Young Grasshopper, and I just told him I had some questions, and I was communicating through his, I can't remember if it was through his email or through his, just a comment on his channel, but he called me. I sent my contact information and he called me, and I was totally blown away. Here's Young Grasshopper talking to me, but what a great guy. I mean, just a super guy, very encouraging, I told him I was thinking about starting my channel, and he said, hey, do it. He said, we need more. The more channels out there, the better. And this is he and Sired Blood and General Hand Grenade and, the Garrison and all these guys that have these YouTube channels. I want to give a huge shout out to, because I don't think I would be where I'm at in my experience without all those guys. Of course, I went back and I watched some of the videos from Sired Blood's channel about his Bloodbath tournament in 2018, and I saw all the interviews. So I was able to put some faces to some of the names, DK Cowboy and obviously Sired Blood and G.I. Joe and a lot of those guys, and it was really, 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 really cool thing to watch all those, put names to those faces. Corporal 24, and so it was really cool. So now, just within the last week, I reached out to Young Grasshopper saying, did he have a way I could contact Sired Blood? He said, hey, let me add you to my group, and so he added me to the group, and now I've been, and I figured out a way to communicate with Sired Blood, and I sent him an email, and I told him I want to support the Bloodbath tournament in some way, some small way that I can, and he was so gracious, very gracious about, the table building and everything, and he talked about, watching the table building videos and gave me a couple of tips about that, and so I'm going to help support that tournament and in a small way, but I wish I could go, but I go to dialysis 3 times a week, and travel has to be very planned out, and if I went, I would have to travel on Thursday, or I'm sorry, yes, I would have to travel on Thursday because I'd have to do dialysis Friday, and then I could do Saturday, Sunday, and be at the tournament. But Monday, at some point, I would have to do dialysis again. They really don't want you to go 3 days in a row. I could possibly skip the 3rd day, but it would be, it's not a healthy choice for me to do that. So at this point, I can't go to the tournament, and really, I probably wouldn't have the funds to go at this point either. So, but Young Grasshopper added me to the channel, or added me to his group, and so I've been doing, communicating a little bit with that. Everybody on there has welcomed me, and so it's really the first time I started using my my game name of Panzer J Patton, and so that's basically where I'm at now. This channel, as I document what I'm doing, I will make more videos. So if I'm going to wrap this up now. I've been talking for about 30 minutes, and that's about twice as long as I wanted to go. But I wanted to thank everybody that has made YouTube videos and customizations and all the things that Young Grasshopper, Sire Blood, the I Will Never Grow Up site, Dirk Kinsler in Southern Illinois. I've communicated with him, and he sent me some of his stuff, some of his customizations, and it's really been good. So I want to wrap this up, and I hit like and subscribe, and obviously the more likes and subscribes I get, the more apt I am to make more videos. And but I'm going to make them no matter what. I really want to document this for myself and for my family, my daughters, my wife, and then my extended family, about this experience I'm going through. And maybe, just maybe, some of them will want to start playing too. So anyway, this is Panzer J. Patton signing off.